Working with date and time is an important job of a developer. So let's say if you're working for an application where the user registers automatically, right? So let's say they come to the sign up page and they type in their information and they click register. As a developer, it's your job to automatically log the date and time when the user registered. Let's say if you're working on your application and some error occurs, you want to log the date and time when the error occurred so you can go back and fix those errors and troubleshoot, right? So let's say if you're working for Facebook, you know the date and time automatically shows up. Actually, at least the date shows up, right? So they are actually in the background automatically logging the time and date when the post occurred. So thanks to JavaScript, they give us a built-in date object that helps us organize our dates. So let's take a look on how to use that. So to create a date, you can simply create a variable. I can say var d1 is equal to new date, like such. Now, the date object is a constructor. That's why we're using the new keyword to create a new date. I can provide whatever parameters. So let's say if I want to represent a particular date and time, I can say 1988 dash, let's say 9 dash 17. That's my date of birth. If I do that, I do D1, that is the date representation. And it's interesting to know I was born on a Saturday. I didn't know that. Now, let's say if you do not provide any parameters, so let's say I'm going to create a D2 and I provide nothing, then over here it's going to simply D2 is going to be the exact date and time right now when this variable was created. So that's pretty interesting, right? Now, just like we have learned about prototypes and different objects, different types inherit different properties, so the date constructor have different properties that the D1 date instance inherits. So I'm going to clear this over here and I'm going to do d1.getDay. And you see it says the day I was born was the 6th day. I don't know what that means. So you might go to the documentation and scroll down, go for the prototype and go to getDay. Date.prototype.getDay. You know that prototype, all the prototype properties are inherited. So if I go over here, it says the getDay method returns the day of the week for the specified date according to the local time, where 0 represents Sunday for the day of the month. So Sunday is 0, Monday is 1, Tuesday is 2, so Saturday is going to be a 6. So 6 is basically a Saturday. So that's why it says 6 over here, right? So if I say d1 dot, let's say get year or get full year, sorry, it's going to just say 1988. So it has some useful methods over here that can help us get certain information from my object. So get milliseconds, get minutes, get day, get date, get month. So if I do month, it's going to say 9 or 8 because it's probably a 0 index. So let's just validate. If I go over here, I do get month and it says 0 based, right? So January is 0, February is 1, so that's why September is 8 versus the 9th month. So that is something useful that JavaScript provides us, which will help us work with our dates and get information in and out of our date objects. Let's say if you want to modify your dates, instead of getting information out, you can actually set information in it as well. So I can say d1.set date or set full year or set hours, set milliseconds, set month. You can change the time as well. So I can say set full year is going to be, let's say 2001. So I'm going to say 2001. Actually, it's going to be a number. Do that, and if I do D1 now, you see it's set to 2001 like such. So the other factors are the same. But see, the good part is that this date object is smart enough to recognize that when this particular year was changed, Monday was the right day at that time. So that's where the helpfulness comes in. Now, one last thing I want to tell you about the date object, you should study the documentation, but one last thing which is very important is that let's say if you simply don't create a new object and you say date dot now like such, you see this number shows up over here, which is 154 whatever, and ends at 809, okay? Now let me tell you what that is, but before I do that, let me just do that one more time. Date.now, enter, and now it is 145 whatever, but the last digits are 298. So this is a different number every time. Seems like it's changing. I do that again, and the number is changing, and it seems like the number is going up, right? This is 26,000, this is 37,000, this is 46,000, but the first ones are the same. So this brings me to tell you what this number is. In JavaScript, when you do date.now, the number that is printed out represents the milliseconds that has been occurred since the date of January 1st, 1970. So that's just a helpful way. Sometimes, let's say, you're coding an application where dates are important and you want to represent certain randomly generated numbers that represent a number, right? So this would be a way to represent the date. So this is a representation, a millisecond representation of the exact date and time which is happening right now since January 1st, 1970. So this becomes handy in certain cases when you're working with date. So this is one of the representations. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to talk to you in the next.